What's up, everybody? Scott, again, you have me again, as always, and I'm looking forward to this conversation with Alex. If you haven't hopped on a podcast where me and Alex are jamming, there's a ton of them. There's at least 5 or 6.
We've done a few now.
Yeah. I mean, we have a history of over a year ago, and then like 4 in the last couple of months, and now
between this and our projects, I feel like if I don't talk to you for a week, this is in person for us, right? Because we live in different states, but then it's kind of weird. It's like,
it is. It's it tells me why people do like repeated client or interviewees, right. Guests. I don't know what you want to call them, but it's just because you start to jive with someone. It's a lot of fun. You can cover some great content, and so I should have pushed record like way earlier. We would have had some funny moments. It would have been.
I thought you were recording.
I didn't push the button, and I should have, because we were having some awesome, and then conversations that I kind of messed it up with some graphic funnies. But anyway, I want to talk today about surrounding yourself with people and the right people. And here's why. This weekend, I was kind of just spending a lot of time thinking over the last year. We just came out of COVID, made a lot of great friends online doing podcasting, building out my circle for brotherhood of fatherhood. I met you through this, and it's been a phenomenal experience just getting to know you and talking with you. And we're working on a project together right now. And it's phenomenal. And I met a ton of guys. I met a ridiculous amount of guys through brotherhood and then through my business as well. And so what happened a year ago, my business partner and I were like, with another gentleman, we're like, hey, let's start a mastermind. And no thought on like how you start a mastermind or what you do. So we came up with this idea, and we invited people, and we started doing monthly calls, and then we do a quarterly trip. So we'll be doing our 3rd or 4th quarterly trip here in February. And it's growing. We're adding more people, and we just get together, and we are very intentional. We go deep fast, but then we plan for the weekend, and we have like this tactic that we go in with. We're going to get stuff done over the weekend, but we also have this brotherhood time, and we have these great experiences. And dude, it's been like next level growth for me. Like next level, and I started.
Haven't you found that to be the best thing? Sorry, not to interrupt you. I just wanted to point this out before I forgot this point on what you were saying. Haven't you found that to be like the best thing and like a common trait with like successful people and people that really you see where maybe they may be dominating in a specific field, and then when you ask them like, hey, how'd you start out in this? And they almost don't know how they started. Like, oh, I just decided I wanted to do it, so I just started doing it. And then once I got going with it, then it was just a matter of like, do it, refine the process, get better, take notes, learn from people, get more people involved. And then you have other people who are like, oh, someday I want to. I talk about this a lot. The whole like, that magical place someday that doesn't exist, right? And and it's just like you just got to start. And the fact you were like, oh, I want to do a mastermind. Like, well, what does that entail? I don't know. Let's just get some guys together that are successful or like are interested and want to do this, and let's start going at it. It's kind of like a project. If you tell me to start a project from scratch and give me a blank piece of paper, I'm going to be like, crap. But if you threw a bunch of crap at me, I'm like, oh, okay, we can do this, and I can clean this up, and I can put this together and move this piece over here. So you have to start with something.
Yeah. Well, boy, we could go multiple directions here, because what I was going to say was the fact that my personal growth, just by being around people virtually, has been astronomical. But as soon as you plug in this personal thing where you're actually together with guys who are, I would say everybody in this group has a strength that's greater than everyone else's. So everyone's bringing something spectacular to the table, but we're all learning from each other, right? And that's really what you want.
Yep.
And ever since then, you can't hide when you're in person. You can't have one persona and then pop in another one. You sort of can, but over time it's going to just ooze out, and everyone's going to know who you are. So the power of being in person, and I do want to get to it, but one thing I was thinking about was your move to Montana and how that's kind of impacted you and who you are. So I want to get there, but I want to piggyback on what you just said, because you were just talking about you just start things. And Ryan Mickler talks about this all the time. he talks about like, oh, guys, just think overnight I made this thing happen, but I've been doing it for X amount of years.
Right.
I was thinking about brotherhood because we're putting together some things for future. And it started with an idea. And what are we, 2 years later, a year and a half later, whatever it is. And, there's almost 4,000 men in the group and, over 100 episodes in the podcast. And then I'm chatting with new guys all the time. It's not overnight success. I think probably in 2 years when everything's running super smooth and there's things going on and brotherhood's this big thing, which I know it will be, people are like, oh yeah, I mean, he just started that, boom, it was off to the races. And I just think that if you want to do a project, if you're thinking big about something, it's just get started, because overnight success takes years and years usually.
Right.
So, but you were doing really well. You're doing this podcast. When I first connected with you, you were living in Washington. Pandemic was just kind of nailing down on all of us, and you picked up and moved your family to Montana. But what I was thinking about is the caliber of people that in the very short time you've been there, you're around. And then, who Alex Jowdy is, from when I first met him, which was an amazing guy, to now, which is literally next level. And I think you probably, you've told me the same. We've changed a lot over the last year. I believe it's because I'm starting to plug in personally with people as well as online. And I think I'm making a hypothesis that it's the same for you.
Yeah, it definitely is. It makes a huge difference. Actually, it's funny. I was talking to a good friend of mine here, somebody that I've become very close friends with over the last year since we moved here, who's in my jiu-jitsu class. And he travels a lot for seminar. He's kind of in a position where he's semi-retired and he gets to travel a lot. And so he does a lot of seminars, like jiu-jitsu seminars, like around the country. And because like me, he's kind of gotten like full bore into it, but he has more flexibility to really do the traveling part, which is awesome. Because I always tease him on, I'm like, you spend all the money and time traveling, then I get to pick your brain when you come back. So he's my rolling partner. And but one of the things we were talking about is how there's a big core group of us that we've met through SPG and just some other similar interests we have here in Montana. And what's funny is the vast majority of the people that we choose to hang out with and spend time with and invest our time and energy into here, most of them have moved here in the last 2 years. So they chose to come here for specific reasons. And then there's another good core chunk of people that have like grown up here or have been here for a long time, but we still have those same interests as well. So it's sometimes people say like, well, I don't know how to find those kinds of people, those kinds of individuals that I want to, better myself with and be time with. Well, go find the things that, that you guys, the shared interests, right? It's kind of like, how do I get better at something? We'll go find somebody who's done it well and then go ask them how they did it. Right. Or, go see if you can learn from them or, what they've put out. So it's been really interesting how, and when they do travel, like this core group of friends of ours do tend to travel more. We actually we'll text and joke around like, it's a little bit more boring when you guys aren't all here at the same time. Like, so like this group of like 10 of us, and if like half of us aren't in town, my wife and I are like, class isn't as fun when like these people aren't in there as well. And it's not that we don't go, we do. We actually notice a difference, so yeah.
Well, you chose a place, I'm sure there was multiple aspects for why you chose it, but the beauty of it is those aspects that you chose it were why other people were coming into that same place, right. Like-minded, same interests. But what you did is you didn't just, you said, we didn't just go and start jiu-jitsu. We started jiu-jitsu. We started our kids in jiu-jitsu. We are living and doing and breathing with that group of people. We immersed ourselves in there. And I think that's a big deal. So really what I wanted to do was make sure that men understood that you can have an incredible amount of growth through connections online. And I'm not downplaying that because it's what's led to my personal in touch growth with people. Right. It was my way of connecting. You can have incredible growth that way, but the next level is when you really surround yourself in those. So, you can't hide. You can't turn the switch. I get off this Zoom with you and then I turn the switch and then I'm Jerk Scott, or maybe I'm Jerk Scott now and I'm not Jerk Scott then, whatever the case is. It's hard to hide your true persona, your true who you are. So it's a little bit of a challenge, and it's also a plug.
Yeah.
The plug, because what I did and what I've always done is when I wanted something, instead of like searching it locally, I've just created it. So I created Brotherhood, and now it's next level. I'm creating another thing. I created that, or with other people, created the mastermind, and that's been the next level. And then you and I have something coming up that is another way for people to have an in-person touch.
You want to start talking about that?
Yeah, I do, because I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
But I want guys to understand that taking that next step, even if it's for a weekend, man, talk about some massive growth that happens. Because that's what I do with my group. It's called Plasm, and there's a whole secret society reason for that name, but it's called Plasm. And I've met with these guys 3 times, but it's been life changing. Every weekend we all go away and we're like, that was life. We don't even do it on weekends. We do it on weekdays. That was life changing.
Yeah.
And that's what I want other men. And that's why when you were like, dude, we need to do something. Cause I was like, I need an event. You're like, well, you need to put one on.
Yeah. That's actually this whole idea started was you made a post about wanting to, hey, anybody around. That's the cool thing about having a group where you've got like over 3,000 people. You can just throw a question out there, and they're nationwide, and you're going to bound to get some information out of there. It's a great resource. But yeah, you made that post, and I was like, dude, we should just do our own, like, and we both live in great places. And then me being here in Montana now, it's just, and having met some great individuals, it's panning out. So that's actually what we're going to do. We're going to be putting on a men's event coming up in June. We have a tentative day. I'm a little hesitant to say the hard day, but it looks like it's going to be that weekend of the 18th of June, and it's going to be 3 days, and it's going to entail some awesome speakers. It's going to entail jiu-jitsu. It's going to entail going to watch some amateur MMA fights and some fireside chats and awesome food. So I'm excited, man. I'm really looking forward to it. So,
well, the more I think about what we kind of have gotten lined up, so people, if we opened this up to just anybody, we'd sell it out on the speakers alone.
Yeah.
Like just one.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we have 2.
I've gotten confirmation for them too. I've talked to you about here.
Okay.
Like those 2, they are locked in to talk. We're just working details out now.
Yeah. So. And I'll go ahead. And I was listening to Rogan last night. Love or hate Rogan, doesn't matter. He's interviewing people from all ideas. So get over yourself if you can't listen to him. That's your problem. He's just trying to share information.
Yeah.
But he was talking to somebody. I'm like, okay, in the last 3 weeks, he's either talked to or dropped the name of the 2 people we have speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I was listening to his podcast yesterday, his newest one, and he's like, he's talking about something. He's like, wonder what would say about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, he's been on your podcast, and I'm sure he's going to come on again. And these guys are very well known. And so ridiculously awesome. So, hey, if we haven't piqued your interest, you really need to like pay attention. If you're not on the Brotherhood, you're not following Cornerstone of America, follow Alex and all of his stuff on Instagram, Facebook, same with me. I'll make sure it all goes in Brotherhood, Fatherhood, of course. I'm on Insta as well, building that out. So go follow me on Instagram. Hey, how fun is it building an Instagram following, huh? Holy cow.
It's interesting, especially with, I think now with seeing what those platforms are doing with like politics. And I don't want to turn this into a political, conversation, but it's just interesting seeing kind of what they do with people that have like a high platform, with a big following, and some of the things they choose to deplatform. So, we don't have the following that some of these people have. And I'm always thinking to myself, like, I don't think if I get to that level, I know I'm going to at some point eventually, right? Like you just keep putting in the work, you keep building relationships and stuff, things are bound to happen. Like I know you got some big guests coming up. I have some big guests coming up. I'm going on a couple of big podcasts coming up in the next 6 months. I've learned not to say anything until it actually happens, but I know that's going to raise the profile of like both the podcast and the social media pages as well. And I'm just curious as to if I'll start getting subjected to that same kind of, shadow banning and things like that as well and I don't even post.
If you have an opinion.
Yeah. But if you have an opinion, right. It's like, does it match up? Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting, but you know what, at the end of the day, it's a matter of, I think it's just it's important, like as far as like the type of people you surround yourself with, and just keep, putting stuff out there. And more importantly, having ownership of like their content and your ability to get information out there as well. Right. So if you live and die on Instagram, or Facebook, it's like one of those platforms, then you're like, eventually you're bound to fail because you have no control over it.
Well, and that's why, like, you guys, like, so many men are like, don't put me on your email list. I don't want to be. And I'm like, hey, look, by the way, if you want to have anything to do with brotherhood of fatherhood or anything in the future, like, you just don't know when something's going to be yanked. I may have some guy come in and make a stupid comment that they don't like, or a great comment that they don't like, and they close my entire group down. And then I don't have access to you. So that's number one. Number two, speaking of Instagram, I was in this mastermind, and they were teaching you how to buy an Instagram profile with like tens of thousands of people already. And then you go and you switch all the content out. And actually, it's a very, very effective approach. It works really well for some audiences.
Right.
The other day, I was having Instagram envy as I'm trying to build my followers and get people to realize that I'm on Instagram as well, because not everybody's on Facebook.
Yep.
And I'm looking at this guy, and I know him, and I'm like, dude, he gets like a couple hundred comments and thousands of views per thing. So I went and I just looked at you can click on the number of people or whatever, and it tells you, it lists them all out.
Yeah. They're
all freaking bots.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Dude, no, like, there's no profile picture. And then they have a lot of, and they're just anime, or they're, I mean, when you start to see it, it's obvious. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, don't ever compare yourself based on something online. Now, exactly. I don't think Mickler or Rogan have paid to have bots follow them to boost their, to break the algorithm and Instagram. But there's a lot of folks doing that.
Oh, for sure. You know what I mean? And what's interesting too is like, you can tell, if you decide you want to go into the comments a little bit on certain posts and certain pages, you can definitely, that's actually one of the things that cracks me up about TikTok. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. Is like, somebody will make some like innocuous post about something stupid, and it's not even interesting at all. And then it'll say like, 270,000 views. I'm like, bullshit. I'm like,
how does that happen?
I'm like, 270,000 views or 1 million views or whatever it is. And it's like somebody taking their phone and going like this and going like, oh, look what I found, like, it's not even an interesting hack. Right. So I don't know. I think when you go down that road, you put yourself in a really kind of like dangerous mental position of kind of comparing yourself to something that's not even potentially even real, which is, I mean, that's a slippery slope to go down. Right. Versus, building your own, set of skills and tools and community and people you actually want to do, and focus on the things you want to do, and say like, okay, I do this, like podcasting, right? Like, I wasn't really comfortable until last year saying like, hey, what do you do? When somebody asked me, what do you do? Like, including podcasting into something I do. And it was towards the end of last year. And then there was a little bit of a break while we were moving, getting everything set up. And then building out the space really made such a big difference for me about actually saying now, like, oh, I do this. I run a consulting business. I do fitness for SBG. I host 2 podcasts. Like, those are things I do. It's not just like a hobby anymore. Like, this is something I really enjoy and pursue. And it didn't happen until I said I was going to do it, because I didn't know jack about podcasting 2 years ago. I actually found, you'll laugh about this. I forgot to bring it in. I'll show you next time. I found a list on my old notebook when I was cleaning up my room. Still unpacking stuff when we moved. And I found a sheet of guests I was going to have on my podcast, my goal over the next 3 years. And I wrote it the first week I was putting the podcast together, and I went through it, and I was actually able to check off like, oh shit, I did have Jack Carr on. This is awesome. I've had Ryan Mickler on. This is great. You know what I mean? I'm going to have these 3 guys on. I know, because I've already talked to them and we're already setting up dates, So, like, and some of these were like, I didn't even know the people at all, like, to begin with. And some of them now I know on a personal basis. It's really cool. So like, when there's a little bit of like, we joke around like woo woo, it's like, oh, speak something into existence. It's not just speak it. Okay, I'm going to put it out there. And then, okay, now I'm going to follow it up with actions to build it. Yeah.
That is the differentiator for you. Cause I was asking you to tell me, I said, how did you get Ryan on your podcast? Ryan Mickler, Order of Man, if you don't know. Love or hate him, whatever. He's got a huge following, and you're like, I just messaged him and I commented on his stuff, and I'm like, it's just tenacity. It's just work ethic, and writing it down. thinking it and the woo woo stuff. Yeah. Like I get a little burnout by hearing that, the manifestation, right? But there's a power in writing things down, because when you write it down, you start to have this new sense of belief. And then if you take action behind that, there's just so much power in it. And yeah, that's pretty epic. It's funny. I tell people, well, yeah, I'm a podcaster. And they look at you like, no, you're not. And I started saying that when I have some podcasts. One of my podcasts is intended for business, and I made sales because of that podcast. Yep. Designed the podcast to let people tell their story, but on the same front, I wanted to interview the people that would be great clients, and it's worked wonderfully. No shame, no hiding that. I tell people that all the time. And so I've literally been able to make money doing podcasting. Yeah. And then you introduced me to these guys that make these kick-ass signs that you have behind me. I have behind me. You should throw a plug for them right now.
Oh yeah. Constructive Solutions Enterprises. It's Ryan and Will and these guys here, or Wayne, sorry, out here in Flathead Valley, and who I met through jiu-jitsu, actually. It's really cool. So they make these killer signs. They've done this one, the one, behind you, your Brotherhood one, Cornerstone. I actually had one made for Andy for Cleared Hot. I just gave it to him over the weekend. Yeah. And then, and they've done like phenomenal work. It's really great. And that all came from, meeting people and seeing that, hey, we offer the service where we do these high resolution prints on metal. I was like, well, you have a CNC machine. Can you guys cut too? They're like, yeah, we actually prefer that because it's a lot more fun. And then they started like cutting to so not only just doing the signs like what they do there, but then also like cutting it to shape. Like, and I'm going to move this camera here.
Yours and your wife's, which is that one in the picture right now, is freaking awesome. If you guys
that one's cool
on YouTube, you need to check it out. It's the Hooligan and the Harridan, and it's it's really cool. Yeah, yeah. So I got people sending me products, like I get products in the mail, and I'll give them shout outs. You got these sponsorships, and it's like, now I can tell people, I do podcasts, and there is monetization behind it, and big deal. But hey, look, it took hundreds and hundreds of episodes to get anywhere.
Yeah, and it usually starts with something with where, like I was talking to somebody a few months ago, and they were asking me, how do you make money podcasting? And then I told them, I said, and at that time it was, well, actually I said, I don't make any money directly from podcasting, but podcasting has helped grow my consulting business, my training business, all these other things that I've been doing. And then, so through podcasting, by way of podcasting, I've created a platform where I'm able to build something. And then also, look, even if I had like 10 listeners, right? Just the simple fact I have a podcast, there's a logo, I have a channel, all those other things too. It's interesting. So it actually invites conversation and it invites a collaboration, right? Like we're doing with like Five Sparrows, like the.
I was just going to bring them up
with Mel. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
our stuff kicks ass. It's so good.
It's awesome. And again, somebody I met through the gym, like I was telling you earlier before we started recording, I teach this fitness class, this strength class at the gym at SBG because they have a weight room. And it's like, I provide value to the gym. They, we do this exchange of service where now I don't have to pay for a membership for my family, right? Which saves a big chunk of money because all 7 of us go. And I get to bring something of value because I'm an expert in this field, in something that they want to bring. My wife is, so that's what we brought on board. And you have all these individuals that go there. They're all professionals. They either have their own business or they work or they have interests. So like the more you can kind of spread and network and do things, but more importantly, keep it of value, right? Like you could do a ton of stuff and just suck at everything, right? So just like keep it in that narrow scope of like, I'm going to do this and like it provides value and I give value, right?
Yeah. Well, and hey, look, we're talking about how great podcasting has been for both of us to make connections because my world has absolutely exploded because of podcasting. Other reasons at first just got in my industry and reaching out to people and then doing masterminds and things like that. But that doesn't mean you should go do a podcast. Like, oh, I watch people start podcasts all the time. And look, I started a business to fix the headache that I had of doing post-production for podcasting because recording is just.
I have hired that business.
Right. So
that's helped a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a lot of work. So don't think, oh, these guys are saying to do a podcast. We're saying plug in. We're saying go do something where there's like-minded people who probably are better than you, are going to make you feel like you suck because you're going to want to be better, who are also going to encourage you to stop sucking. And then our event this June is going to be one of those. And you'll be around world-class people. Mm-hmm. And then Alex and I.
I know. I write down the names and like the stuff we're going to be doing. And you know what? I'm actually past that now. I used to have that whole like imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah.
I don't anymore. I don't mean that like in a cocky way. I just
can't do that. You can't.
No, I think it's more of like, no, like these people have chosen to want to get involved in these things. These individuals have chosen to want to spend time and invest in and buy into certain things. It's like, okay, I know I provide something of value. You know, it's not exactly what they do, right? Because that's what they're an expert in, right? But there's stuff I do that I provide value as well. And more importantly, just as an individual going, like when I get people that tell me or my wife, like, hey, I'm so glad you guys moved here because you bring this to our church or our gym or our community, right? It's like, that feels good. It means like, and especially like talking to you earlier about like having a hard time with the kids lately, as far as attitudes go, it makes me feel good because it's a reminder of the things where, you want to judge your kids on how they act outside the house, not inside the house. So not to go hard left with the conversation, but it all ties together, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I think the challenge here from my perspective is, one, put yourself in place where you're actually in physical contact with other people. Unless you're scared of that, then that's on you, whatever. And then two, but make sure those people are of high caliber and are going or are where you want to be. So I would say within my tight circle in that mastermind, it's now going to be 2, 4, 6, 8 guys. Mm-hmm. Well, every single one of them, I may feel like I'm better at obviously podcasting than some of them. And then I'm better at X, Y, and Z than some of them, but they're way better at, ABC than me. And that's really what you want. And you because that is where everybody has value. So your first step is just to get on our waiting list, wherever that's at. Watch Brotherhood of Fatherhood. Listen, watch the Facebook group, watch Alex's stuff. That's what I'm saying. Follow us. So you can get on the waiting list because we're going to have a limited amount of spots.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not like a sales pitch where we've been going over the logistics of this for the last couple months. And the reality was, like number one, it's our first event. Number two, it's space wise and how we want to set this up. It's not something where like, well, if 100 people want to come, then great, we can sell 100 spots. Like, no, it's not set up for that. This is set up for, I think we talked about something like 30 guys, give or take.
At max. I think we're going to be less, but and fireside chats are so much better with smaller groups.
Right.
Doing some hard things with other men, which I think is another thing you should do, is better with smaller groups. And then it's going to be freaking epic. So yeah, I can sound like a commercial because I'm lucky I get to be there.
Yeah. And I know, actually, it's going to be where I live, like I live here. But I think I told you earlier when we were on a call about it a few weeks ago. I told my wife, I'm like, I know I live here, she goes, but I told her, I said that weekend, I said, I'm not here.
I'm not home.
I'm not home.
Well, that's another thing I like to tell people is like, look, it's not a super easy place to travel. It's not super hard. It's a very busy place this time of year. And then, you're just going to have to do a little work and it's going to cost you a dime. And it's going to be totally worth it.
It's going to be, like I said, if I didn't live here, I would pay to come travel to something like this. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm actually really excited about it. I was a little nervous about it at first. Kind of one of those things like, oh, we're doing this. Okay, cool. All right. Well, then we're doing it. But now we actually have a layout for like what it's going to look like. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. So,
me too. Yeah, me too. I think anybody who it's like ground level. Anybody who comes and does it is then kind of like a shoe-in for continued things that we do, which I think is an important place to be. If you've ever been on a ground level of a big thing, like it's pretty epic because you have so many more opportunities. Like, hey, if you really connect, in the future, we're going to do these. We're going to need help. Maybe we'll be paying people to come do these things instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like it's an opportunity.
And if you're trying to, I'm not going to name them, but I can list 10 people I know off the top of my head that I know personally, family, former friends, things like that, who just their lives in general, where they are right now, would benefit massively just by like being in the middle of this like type of event with these type of people that are going to come. And that's like one of the things like you can't put a price on it. I'm not saying that because we're going to charge like an arm and a leg and trying to break everybody. What I'm saying is like, these are things where people have worked tirelessly and hard at building relationships and putting this together and this type of thing in their lives. And we're going to put it together in an event where you can come and you can meet these individuals. And if you do it right with the right mindset, you're going to walk away with some like really valuable relationships, like a foundation for some of these relationships that if you do the work, then you can really grow. And it's not only going to benefit you, it'll benefit the individual. And it's just, and it's been massive, man. Like my approach to life that way over the last few years, after probably hitting one of the lowest points in my life almost 5 years ago, has completely changed the trajectory of my life, my relationship with my wife, my kids, like everything. I know it sounds like an infomercial. It's not some magic product we're selling. It's not at all. It's just a mindset.
Well, I think, yeah, it absolutely is. And I think there's some self-evaluation you can do. One, you can ask yourself, have I had new people in my life recently who will help me raise the roof? Because old people are great, but you're going to get comfortable. And maybe you've outgrown them and maybe you're not growing from them. So new people, and is it pushing me outside of my comfort zone? So that's one thing that I'm working on really, really hard is like, okay, now talking to people on podcasts, connecting this way is now within my comfort zone. It's time to step out and do these in-person things, create. And for me, it's always just create them to make them happen. So maybe that means you need to go start jiu-jitsu in your own town. If you're not interested in jiu-jitsu, find something where people go to grow.
Yeah.
Or come to our meeting. I'm going to always circle back to, but you know, really it's going to be uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And that's,
I can see that. But uncomfortable is good, right? It's like find stuff. I was talking to somebody close to me who's been going through a really rough time. And he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I said, good. I said, your first response should be to go lean into everything your natural instinct tells you not to do. Because right now your natural instincts suck. Like they suck. You're like, your life's a shit show. It's a mess. And it's all due to all the choices you're making. So right now you have to say, I can't trust my instincts. So I have to go in the opposite direction. I don't like to do this. Good. I'm gonna go do that. I'm not comfortable doing this. Great. I'm gonna jump into that. And don't do it like blindly and alone. Like listen to the people that are actually trying to help you, you know, and I'm saying this to everybody that's listening who, like we were talking about before, has said like, oh, you know, I thought about starting a podcast, or, oh, I want to do this, or, oh, I want to do that. And I don't, and someday I'm going to do this. It's just like, look, if you're struggling like hardcore right now with anything, whether it's, you know, your marriage, your personal life, your career choice, like whatever it is, just go look at all the things you do on a daily basis, like what sums up your life, and then see like there's some changes that need to be made. And one of those is probably, I can almost guarantee it, I probably would bet like a month's salary on it, is the people you choose to surround yourself with, both in person and digitally. I mean, like the content you consume, right? Like whether it's podcasts or books or the news you watch. You know, a good friend of mine, I saw, he made a post the other day on, he said, the majority of people are living their life like this, when he was showing a video of CNN, or you could turn it off and go do this and walk outside and go, you know, go whatever, go for a 10-minute walk, go for a hike, go to the gym, like go do something else. That alone is going to be so much better day after day to change your like internal narrative, like with how you view the world and yourself. Yeah.
I've told this a million times, but I'm never going to stop. I have a picture of a bison. It's an American bison behind me here. And that's because of the story of how bison and buffalo respond to adversity, like storms. When it comes, instead of running away from it, which cattle do, they run through it. Therefore, they get through it faster. So that's exactly what you're saying, is go do that hard thing. Do the opposite way your instinct is, because you'll get through it faster. And I think a lot of people don't do that. Another thing I want to say is, like, if you're going through struggles and you hop on the phone or you sit down with somebody and they don't ask you challenging questions, they're not helping you grow. And I know that sounds horrible. If they're just telling you what to do, you know, it's probably not the best. They just need to be asking you hard questions, because hard questions will generally answer a lot of problems for you, and they'll really help you dig deep and realize that you got to go do the hard stuff. So my hard question for you is what is in the way of not doing that right now? Joining a group, going and finding a tribe of men, going to your local gym and saying, I need to sign up so I can be around something group related, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, it makes a big difference. I mean, shoot, dude, like I talk about jiu-jitsu a lot, and number one, I'm not an expert. I'm a like 2-stripe white belt. Number two, there are plenty of days I feel like not going, right? Because it's uncomfortable, because I'm, 6'1", 260, and I don't move like a gazelle. And there's a lot of things in jiu-jitsu that involve that type of movement sometimes. And it could be a little bit uncomfortable. Like, all right, we're going to do sit-up guard today. And if you guys don't know what that is, it means you're going to sit up like you're sitting cross-legged, but instead your feet are going to be out in front of you, and you're going to have hands up, and you're going to have somebody kind of semi-charge you, and you got to be able to, pick your positions on how you're going to, attack the movement. Right. Yeah. And, so for somebody that's like, 5'10", 160 pounds, like, sweet, I'm all folded up like a crab. And for me, I'm like, all right, I feel like a walrus. Like if you just push on my shoulder, I'm going to be like, oh no,
like on those tippy Tommy, or
right. And it's
wobble people.
Right. And all it is, it's just like anything else. It's a repetition of movement. It has nothing to do with my size. But because it's new and it's uncomfortable, there's an initial reaction to be like, I don't want to do that today. Like just let me know when we're doing takedowns and I get to tackle people. Right. But that's not everything. Right. So I choose to go get involved in that stuff. And I've never done a class after when I'm done, I'm going like, oh, I wish I didn't come to this class. Like I've never done that. It's never happened in the year plus I've been doing it. So that tells you something right there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like me with mountain biking is something I do just to get restoration in my brain. It's right. I'll just work and worry. And then the last thing I want to do is go mountain biking, but then I do, and I completely get free my mind frees up. I really want to do jiu-jitsu. I really do. I'm not.
Yeah. You were telling me there's not like a great place around you.
Not that I found yet. Not that these things aren't always well advertised.
That's true. There are some like great, like kind of underground places that.
And that's kind of what I would like to find.
Well, here's the thing, like what you'll learn. There are people that are great. I mean, this because being a former gym owner. There are people who are awesome at a skill that they have, but they suck in business or in advertising. So they do. And they talk about how it's a struggle to do what they do. And you look at them and go, if you did like these two things that are actually pretty simple, simple, you would like have exponential growth in your business if you just did these two little things. Right. Yeah. So it's pretty funny. So it's funny. Yeah. So, well, you know what, when you come out here for our event, like that's going to be part of the event is, Travis is agreed to open the gym up for us and host like a 2-3 hour little mini jiu-jitsu seminar, as part of the 3-day event. So it's going to be pretty cool. And we got some kick-ass speakers coming too. So,
well, yeah. And just being around men. I mean, the whole thing without the speakers or the events, the whole thing would be totally worth it. Because
exactly.
You get to chill with dudes like Alex and I are going to ask you hard questions.
That's true. That is true. It's very, very true. I actually, that company I was telling you about that I just came on as a director for, one of the things they joke about is, but they're kind of serious is, two of the guys are former, military and intelligence, and it's a high level security company that I'm working with. And one of the things they told me about was, hey, you bring order to chaos, and so you're like, we need an adult in the room. And I go, and sometimes to me, I'm like, okay, if I'm the adult in the room, there's a problem here.
Well, yeah, it probably depends on the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But just the environment is great. So like, it'll be fun. It'll be fun and it'll be valuable. Like this event we put together. So just tell everybody to kind of stay tuned to stuff that's coming up, both on, from both our ends and, both from a podcast standpoint and content that's going to be coming out, and more information they'll be announcing in the next couple of weeks about our event here. So we'll have some hard details. So, but for a fact, we're going to have some killer, guests. We're going to have some jiu-jitsu. We're going to watch some MMA fights.
For all levels.
Table side. Yeah, exactly.
But by the way, if you're afraid of jiu-jitsu, don't worry. I've never done it. And that's probably going to be my first time.
No, this is going to be total, like, you can go to, dude, you can go to a Henry Aiken seminar and like, you could be like literally like I signed up last week, or you could be a black belt, you're going to learn something, which is great. Yeah. So,
okay. So they need to be on Brotherhood of Fatherhood group. Yep. and Facebook, or if you hate Facebook land a little bit like I do, but I'm there because I need to be, and I really like the group. Instagram, Brotherhood of Fatherhood, and then Alex, do you have a Cornerstone of America, or is it just Alex Jowdy?
Yeah, I do. I have a Cornerstone of America Instagram page and Facebook, and then I have a personal, one as well. But like anything related to the event or the podcast is going to be on Cornerstone of America, both on Instagram and on Facebook.
And we'll talk about it on our podcast. So,
right. And your crew is helping me build the website right now too, so that'll be up and running.
Awesome!
Yeah. So, yep.
Oh yeah, the websites will be places to look to.
We'll have something.
Hello. Yeah. Those are in progress. Dude, it's always a pleasure just jamming with you. It's we didn't really come in. I wanted to challenge guys to go find a group of people in person to be around. That was, whether it's with us or someone else, I don't care. Just do it.
Yeah. You can't, like, if you do it with the right mindset, like, you're not, even if you end up like with the wrong people certain ways, you're still going to learn something. You're going to pick something up. Okay, that's not where I want to be. That's, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to get nuggets of like truth and value out of those things. So somebody posted the other day, you can't fail anything. And I'm like, you can fail the only way you can fail is if you don't learn from it. That's it. So if you can go someplace and it sucks, but you learn something about how to find the right place to be, where the right people are, you've grown. So there you go. Yeah. Right on, brother. All right, man. Have a great one. Cool.
Thank you for listening to the Brotherhood of Fatherhood podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with your friends, your family, and follow us on social media. If you are a father, make sure you join our Facebook group, The Brotherhood of Fatherhood. Hit the subscribe button and tune in next time for more podcasts from the Brotherhood of Fatherhood.